in memory of Chuck Hart. Thank you very much. I'm going to move a couple things a little bit around in the agenda. I've got a call or two that there might be a need. So with your all permission, I'd like to give Drew Leach from CD, the Mighty 1-5, the opportunity to give her report because she has a very important family function to attend to. So, Drew?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi, Drew.
Hi, how are you? I'm going to get this thing. Sorry, I'm here. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. Is this on? Oh, there we go. Hello there. I have just a few updates, a very short update tonight, and then I'll open it up to questions and answers. The Vincent Thomas Bridge Deck Replacement Project studied the effects that the project may have on the environment and the community, and the results are in the draft environmental impact report and environmental assessment. This report and assessment is available for review and comment from now through Monday, July 15th. To view and comment, you can go to virtualeventroom.com/Caltrans/V as in Victor, or Vincent, T as in Thomas, and B as in Bridge. Additionally, there will be one virtual and 2 in-person hearings, one of which has already passed, where attendees will have the opportunity to listen to a presentation regarding the draft EIR-EA results and provide comments with a court reporter. The in-person remaining hearing will be here in San Pedro at this very community center on Thursday, June 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. Peck Canyon weed abatement. On Friday, May 3rd, Rec and Parks Maintenance submitted their brush clearance packages for Peck Park Canyon. All brush will be cut to 3 inches to the ground, and all trees will be trimmed from 6 to 6 feet from ground level. The trails will be widened, and dead trees and debris will be removed. We are working diligently to ensure that the summer season is a safe one for us all. Summer pool information. The pools are opening up on June 3rd. Super exciting. We have our very own Hey Rookie pool here in San Pedro. The schedule is June 3rd to 14th. They'll be open for half days, Monday through Friday from 3 to 7, and the weekends from 1 to 5. And June 15th is official opening day. June 15th to August 11th, Monday through Friday from 12 to 7, and weekends from 1 to 5. They are closed for Juneteenth. Independence Day is open just from 1 to 5, and Labor Day will be the last day of summer. All right. We are in the thick of the budget process for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. The mayor released her budget on May 10th, and there's been back and forth in the Budget and Finance Committee. On May 16th, which is this Thursday, the committee is meeting to go over the recommendations from the chief legislative analyst to the city council. They'll go over the memos, suggested additions and subtractions, and they'll produce a draft of a budget that will be up for discussion with the full council on May 22nd. The city froze almost 2,000 positions because there just weren't enough resources to fill them. Fire and police and sanitation were the only departments not touched in terms of open position cuts. No one is being laid off, but the vacant positions will be eliminated. Library upgrades. All new sidewalks have been installed surrounding the San Pedro Library. We will not be reinstalling the bus shelter in an effort to support law enforcement in their efforts to eliminate criminal elements operating from the library and its surroundings. Bandini resurfacing. Bandini from Sepulveda to First is in the process of being resurfaced with an estimated completion date of Wednesday, May 15th. Fleet Week is May 22nd to 27th. Information on events is located at lafleetweek.com. And finally, Community Town Hall. There are flyers over here. I highly recommend that you take one. Councilmember Tim McOster will be holding and hosting a community celebration town hall on Sunday, May 19th at 4 p.m. right here at the Peck Park Auditorium. This town hall was planned in response to a hate crime that happened within San Pedro over the holiday season. A group of community leaders have come together to plan an event where we as a community will learn about hate crimes, hate speech, and the prosecution of those crimes, together with a strong message of rejection of hatred here in San Pedro. This powerful program will include musical performances, presentation by distinguished law enforcement from LAPD, the LA District Attorney's Office, the county's LA versus Hate, and motivational words by elected officials. You can register at bit.ly/capital SPC lowercase OMM capital Unity. So it's San Pedro Community. All the information is located right here, which I've sent out multiple times and is also over there. This is my first event that I'm producing for the council member, and so it's important to me that we have as good a showing as possible to show the council member that, yes, we support his messages of unity and that we stand against hatred. It's going to be a really phenomenal program. Ray has been on the planning committee, and I look forward, hopefully, to seeing you all here on Sunday at 4 p.m. We will be serving dinner. Now I'm going to open up the floor to questions.
Any questions from around the table? Comment? I see no hands. Out in the audience, any hands, questions? I see no hands again.
Wow, it's a historic day.
I have one comment.
You blew it. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to thank Drew with the mitigation that she did with SoCal Gas to try and get them to come together with the neighborhood and all. Thank you, and hopefully they follow through with everything they said.
Yeah, I actually spoke to
So
Gabby.
far-
It's a pleasure. Has there been a reduction further?
The what?
Has there been a reduction further of the trucks?
There's been a reduction, yeah, there has, and they're still coming.
Mm-hmm.
But once those ballards are in place, I think everything will be fine.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, SoCal Gas is going to be redesigning the entry into the gas station across from Target in an effort to create a physical barrier to bigger trucks coming in. They are going to be submitting those plans as soon as they're done with them, and so hopefully just that process will move smoothly, and they'll reach out to us once they've submitted the plans so that we can move it along as well.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. All
Last
right.
call.
I will say in the budget for this coming year, we do not have funding for on-demand tree trimming.
For what?
On-demand tree trimming, so we can't just ask for a tree to be trimmed.
Oh, wow.
Only in the case of emergency. We will see some more challenging situations in terms of direct services being provided, but there will not be any issues in terms of if there's like an emergency that needs to be addressed, it will be addressed, but the things that are kind of like optional or not emergent will be, it'll be a little bit challenging this coming year. So I'm going to ask for all of your patience to continue working with us and understand that we are working in a very challenging budget situation, but that council member who is on the budget and finance committee is doing his best to make sure that we are able to get the maximum of what we get. And in terms of the restructuring of the different city departments, by eliminating these vacant positions, it does eliminate some money from their budget. So he's working on having smart restructuring of teams. So for example, in sanitation, if you take away 100 vacant positions, you're not going to leave a team with like 4 mechanics and no driver. You know, he wants to make sure that every team is fully staffed and so that every team is able to, in and of itself, take care of all the issues that they need to take care of. So, all right, thank you. Who here, by show of hands, is planning on coming to the Unity meeting on Sunday? Amazing. I'm so excited. If you can go ahead, take a flyer up here. It says San Pedro Community Celebration. We do kindly ask that you register, only so that we make sure we have enough food for everybody. It's the only reason. All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is general public comment. I do have 3 cards here, and I will call upon the individual in the order in which I received them. So, the first one is Lori Jacobs.
Hi, Board. So Darlene Zavalny, former board member here, and her husband, John Zavalny, are working closely, some of you may have already heard about this, with the Jane Goodall Roots and Shoots program. And we are honored to have Jane Goodall coming to San Pedro on September 21st for a Peace Day event at Point Furman Park. This is going to be a huge, huge event. And so Darlene contacted me. I'll be submitting some paperwork for Darlene, asking she would like the neighborhood councils to be sponsors and offering them a space to be at the event. But please think about not only saving the day, but once I get flyers, we really want to spread the word. We want to get our youth involved. There'll be a lot of climate action, environmental groups there. If you're not familiar with Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots program, it's a probably Abby knows, right? Her troop is working on Roots and Shoots. They do one project that's environmental, one that's for humans, and one that's for animals. Did I get that right? Okay. So if you don't have to do all of them, but that's what they encourage, and they work very closely with youth groups all over the world for this. So I just wanted to make sure you had that date on your radar, September 21st, and I'll get more information and submit the proper paperwork for us to be a sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Next person will be Alan Primes.
Thank you, Ray. Good evening. I would just like to share an event coming up this Saturday morning from 9 to 12, Saturday the 18th, not far from here in Peck Park Canyon, virtually on the other side of the building. We have a volunteer event for the Friends of Peck Park Canyon. We have been working on a restoration site for native vegetation closest to the access point, the intersection of Walker and Eldorado. So it's easier to park on the other side of the park to access it. But we've had dozens of volunteers come out to help us last year and this year. We've put in a couple hundred plants, and right now we're doing maintenance, trying to make sure those plants are and remain healthy and try to cut some of the competition from weeds, which are all too ready to fill in the empty spaces. We'd be delighted to have people come out and join us Saturday at 9 in the morning, or anytime between 9 and 12. If you have a weed whacker, that would be great.
I got one.
If you have gloves and bring some water, maybe a bucket for water plants, that would be very helpful. And having just heard Drew's report on the cleanup of the park, I'm hoping Mike will make sure they don't attack and eliminate our restoration parcel. And this will be one of the few weekends that rain has not been forecast, so we've been limited in what we could do this spring because of the weekend rainfall pattern. But now is the time to get out there and enjoy the sunshine, the vegetation, and good company. So hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last public comment card. So if anyone who needs to make a public comment, rush over there and fill out a card. But our last one is Gwen Henry as a stakeholder.
Hi all, you'll hear more in the Animal Services report, but I would encourage all of you to go to the Harbor Animal Shelter and just visit. If you continue, they have an app now. When you open up the website, you can see, if you go there at the end of the day at around 9 o'clock, you can see the grand total of dogs that are in the shelter system for that evening. And you can see how many came in and how many left. But it's usually at the evening when that total count comes in. Yesterday, once again, only 737 dogs. That's what the capacity is for all of the shelters. But they hover around 1,400, and yesterday it was 69. That's double. That's easily double the capacity. They have animals in cages, and they can't keep up. If anyone can foster an animal and get it out of the system and just and wait for it to be adopted and take it into your home, that will do a great benefit to that animal, as well as provide another space for another animal. Now, something that has happened, and I hope that we can do a motion or a CIS on this, but there's a motion that put a moratorium on all breeders' licenses. And I would hope that our neighboring council could possibly support that. This should be a significant step towards stopping breeders from continuing to sell or breed dogs within the city. They really want to there's a cap on it, and there's a moratorium. It's until those numbers go down, and then breeders' licenses will be able to go in. But in the meantime, please go in. They have a long list of wants and needs, and your old blankets, that's like top on the list. If you've got old sheets and old blankets, take it over there. They need them all the time. And if you can volunteer, please do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the end of our public comment period. So we're going to be closing out that agenda item. And we're going to move on to the next one, which is the homelessness liaison report. Lori?
I hate that I have my back to some people, so I'm sorry. So, anyway, good evening again. I'm just going to touch on each of the things. Hopefully, some of you. Did anybody read my report on your packet? No? Okay. I put them in ahead of time so you can have information, but I have links to get more detailed information on all of it. So some of you may have heard that the Supreme Court is actually has been hearing on a City of Grants Pass, Oregon versus Johnson, which is basically trying to overturn the Martin versus Boise ruling, anti-camping ruling from a few years back. They're actually, they had a discussion on it. They are not going to give the ruling until the end of June. But a summary of that is, most of you probably know that the anti-camping is for people sleeping on public property in the absence. The cities cannot punish people experiencing homelessness that are out in the public, sleeping on property, if they don't have an alternative resource there. So if they don't offer them some type of reasonable shelter, they can't criminalize it. So there's arguments for and against. It's not my role to tell you which way. I do have an opinion, but look through this, because how this ruling goes can affect us. And knowing that California, sadly, if you look at the total homeless population in the United States, California has about 30% of it. So this is a huge ruling. Now, I also have information on updates on Municipal Code 4118, which this board has discussed in the past. For any newer board members, basically this is the Los Angeles Municipal Code, which addresses issues, the same thing, related to sitting, lying, sleeping, or placing personal property in the public right-of-way, schools, parks, things like that. The Supreme Court ruling will affect that. I have a link to this information. They've analyzed since 18 was implemented, and the Los Angeles Services Authority, LASA, has said that the conclusion was that the policy has not affected its goals. It's not helped people get off the streets or get into housing. It's really just moving people around for the most part. But read the information, make your own decisions. Information on that. I wanted to mention the housing elements. Every city, the state requires them to have turned in a housing element. It was already due. Los Angeles City is rather large. Some of the South Bay cities hadn't completed theirs. And this housing element is a housing plan that has a requirement of a certain number of new affordable housing okay? And most cities have not hit their number, and now the state's kind of cracking down. I think they cracked down in Orange County first with fines. So the allocated additional housing would be distributed among various income categories, including very low, low, moderate, and above moderate. And there's a 1990 state law allowing housing projects that don't comply with local zoning in cities without a state certified housing plan or housing element. Basically, the bottom line, if you have not heard of this, there's something called builder's remedy. And if an area has not met their requirement, builders can bypass zoning and build things that the community might not be happy with. There's mixed feelings on higher density housing coming to our community. That's the only way we can solve the housing crisis. And I think I've shared before that most people agree the biggest root cause of homelessness and evictions is the lack of affordable housing. Drug use and mental health are outcomes of this, but the root cause is still the housing. So this is big. Rancho Palos Verdes, our neighbors, already have been affected by this, and their city council was bombarded with over 600 people at their last meeting because they were not happy with some of the high density housing they proposed. But basically their city council said they really had no choice, because if they didn't submit those, then the builders can, as Melanie says, go willy-nilly on housing. So these are just issues that we need to pay attention to. I wanted to mention, we've talked before about SB 9, which Governor Newsom signed into law a couple of years ago, which basically was taking a property where there was one home and somebody could put 4 homes on that property with very little oversight of environmental impact reports, infrastructure, things like that. Most people were against it, but it wasn't put on the ballot. Newsom just put it through. Well, 5 cities got together and they've got it overturned, because nowhere in there does it have any solutions to adding affordable housing. It's just adding more housing, but there's no requirements for affordable. It's not achieving the goal that they wanted to have. So they're thinking, because it was overturned by Carson, Torrance, Redondo Beach, Whittier, and Del Mar, that probably Los Angeles is not far behind, since they set that precedence. So I wanted to mention that, and I have some links on that. Ms. Dominguez came in, so I do have a couple of Mayor Bass updates. We did have an inside safe in Wilmington, and she usually talks about those. It was pretty successful. They were able to get, I think it was like 35 people off the streets, not necessarily all into housing, but off the streets. And some of them may have gone into motels or shelters, which is step one in getting a path to housing and getting services, getting jobs, things like that. And they did have a webinar on this. I'll let Jocelyn explain that. And then the mayor's proposed budget that Drew Leach just talked about, I looked at just the part on homelessness. Yes, there's cuts, and there's cuts on the homelessness budget also. Part of that is because they're winding down on Proposition HHH, which was a city proposition. And she's made it clear that during recent years, I lost my place. So the key goals of this budget, okay, is to lower the cost of housing and develop a stronger model for delivering services with new housing without having services for people that need it. Okay, they won't have retention. So she's focusing more on that. So that budget has been cut, but the way I see it is I think she's doing what we need to do. She's streamlining it. They're looking at how the money is being spent, and I think the goal of this budget is to spend the money more wisely. And so that is about it. The only other thing I wanted to mention is I got contacted by the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and they are resurrecting the homelessness liaison meetings in downtown LA. Oh goody, I get to go to City Hall at 6 p.m. in the middle of the week, but I'm so excited to hear that. But I'll find out how many other neighborhood councils have a homelessness liaison and what they're doing. What are they taking action? What are they reporting on? And it'll just give me a chance to at least kind of mingle with them and see what's going on. So that's it, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Lori. Any questions? Gwen?
Regarding the harbor area, CD15's ability to have affordable housing and build it, how is this area doing in the expected requirements?
Well, unfortunately, San Pedro is part of the big city of Los Angeles, so you can't really look at that. However, and Diana probably could answer that well too, we have done very well. Beacon's Landing opened up a couple months ago, which is right next to a bridge home. I think it's 80 permanently. Thank you. I lost. Getting old. Permanent supportive housing. So I don't know how many people have been placed in there. There's also another one on Western. We've all seen it because it's backed up all the traffic over there by between Anaheim and PCH. That's also going to be 80 units of permanent supportive housing. But when you talk about affordable housing, and Angela asked me, she had somebody who wanted to know about affordable housing. Right now they're focusing on people who are experiencing homelessness or about to, because I'd like to find affordable rent too. Right now, it's just not possible. And as we're winding down in this fiscal year, there's even less opportunities for affordable housing projects. Everybody's maxed out on things. So I probably didn't really answer your question, Gwen, except I think San Pedro's doing really well. There's several new complexes. There's one on 756. Yeah. So there's several. You know, what I want to see is, they're building these. I want to see what kind of retention they have, who they're putting in there. Is this a path to something else? Because there's subsidized housing where they help them out and they pay a portion of their income towards the rent. And as they become more successful, they might move out of there into some other kind of housing. So that's what I want to see, is the progress we're making to help people. Because no matter what we do right now, people are still becoming homeless at a faster rate than we can house them. So,
Which segues into my second question. We had talked about that before, after the homeless count, that one of the great drawbacks right now is that the city of Los Angeles has not parsed out the data in order to address region by region. And I am concerned when you just said that the mayor is proposing to streamline the systems in order to deal with financial inadequacies, things that might be wasteful. Is there data also being collected on that? And is there a goal to build on the data collection for those type of things to be addressed?
So I was at a meeting on Saturday that LASA was there, and they're saying they've sped up the process with permits and things from like 120 days down to 30, because the mayor instituted a program where before you had to get this permit and then this permit and then this one, You can do them all at the same time. So that's a time saver and becomes a cost saver. So it's so complex, Gwen. We just keep chipping away at it. And as far as the homeless count numbers, I did ask him because I was the site lead for San Pedro and I have the raw numbers, which I'm not supposed to give out. But sometime in the next month, they're going to give us the multiplier and put out the numbers for all of LA. He said it would be okay for me to share the information that I have on the count. Okay. But I don't really know how that helps us one way or another to know the numbers, because like I'm telling you, people are still becoming homeless at a faster rate than we can house them, and that's because of the lack of affordable housing and lower wage jobs. That's just the way it is. One thing I will mention, there will be a ballot measure, a revamp of Measure H, and it's going to be called Measure A. And it's going to be similar to Measure H, the county one, only instead of a 1/4 cent tax, it's going to be a 1/2 cent tax. I'm going to try and get somebody who's an expert on this to come to our meeting as we get closer to that, who can present the pros and cons, because I can say that initially most of us would say, hey, why am I going to pay more tax money when people are still becoming unhoused at a faster rate? So I want to understand how they're using this money. Does it make sense? But this will be a huge county measure that will affect a lot of future programs. Measure H is set to end in 3 years. They're trying to get this in place before that happens.
Okay. Any other questions from around the table? No? Any questions from the audience? King.
If there's any other feedback or that we can not or any person
Is my report in your packet?
Yes, it is.
Okay, my email address is on this.
All right. Thank you, Lori. So we're going to go ahead and have our elected and public safety. And so I see our representative from the mayor's office, Jocelyn Dominguez. Thank you for being here.
Hello, good evening, board members. I'm Jocelyn Dominguez, Community Engagement Manager for Mayor Bass. Just a couple updates. So the first one is that the mayor was down here last week at the Port of Los Angeles. She was joined by representatives from the Biden administration and the port to launch Amazon's largest fleet of heavy-duty electric trucks in the world, serving the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Just announcing that it is a step towards her efforts to reduce emissions, improve air quality in surrounding neighborhoods of the port, and build a greener Los Angeles. So this does include rolling out nearly 50 heavy-duty electric trucks in Southern California, adding to hundreds of electric vans already deployed throughout the state. And then also last week, the mayor did applaud City Council for their confirmation of Carmen Chang as the new general manager of the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. So very excited to work alongside Ms. Chang, who will lead the department with a bold and equity-driven vision for the department, where Angelenos across the city can be civically engaged through neighborhood council systems to advocate for their communities on the issues that matter to them the most. And this is very exciting to me because, in case you probably don't know, but the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment is actually under the purview of our community engagement team. So we will be working very closely with Ms. Chang to make sure that we are supporting our neighborhood councils. And then also last week, the mayor, along with the Board of Supervisors, held the inaugural Los Angeles Foster Youth Shadow Day. This program connects former foster youth with local leaders to present policy recommendations based on firsthand experience living in the child welfare system. Based on specific feedback from delegates during the program, Los Angeles County Supervisor Catherine Barger will introduce a motion to remove barriers for foster youth who have aged out of foster care in need of housing vouchers, increasing their use of housing navigation services, and prioritize child care for foster youth who are parents. And then I know Laurie already mentioned the Inside Safe operation that we did have here in our district in Wilmington, where we were able to address an RV encampment. We were able to remove the RVs and bring close to 40 individuals inside to get them the services that they need and get them on a path to permanent housing. A couple weeks after that, we did host a webinar hosted by our Deputy Mayor of Community Engagement, our Deputy Mayor, Dr. Agonifer, who is our Deputy Mayor of Homelessness and Community Health, and also Anita Wells, who is our Senior Director of Inside Safe. And they were able to kind of to present to community members what happened that day, what does an Inside Safe operation look like, who do we partner with, and how the community can partner with us to make sure that the encampment doesn't return, and how can we let our council member know about the encampments in the area so we know where to go next when we have another operation. And then the city budget, that was touched on as well. The mayor did release her proposed city budget, which I did include in the newsletter that I sent out, I believe, last week. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at that, and please remember that you are able to give public comment on that city budget either in person, through our LA City Clerk website, or by phone if you'd like to give a public comment on that proposed budget. And then also just wanted to make you aware that on our website, so if you go to mayor.lacity.gov/contact, we now have a tab specifically for sharing your opinion with the mayor. So if you do have feedback or just an opinion that you'd like to share with her, you are able to submit that on there, directly on our website. And we have a team that checks that daily to see what people are sharing with the mayor. Just keep in mind that that does not count as a public comment, so if you still want to have that comment go on record, you want to continue to use the city clerk council file system, but that's just a way that you can share your message directly with our office. And that's all my updates, unless there's any questions.
Any questions from around the table or comments? I see no hands. How about out in the audience? Any hands or questions? No hands.
All right.
Jocelyn, thank you so much.
Easy night. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Okay, I do believe we have no other people representing any other departments, but the very famous and infamous Senior Lead Officer Russell Baloney is here. So.
How's it going, everybody? So Officer Baloney, Senior Lead Officer, Northwest San Pedro. Just to go over the crime stats. So for 55 basic car area, for the comparing April 23 to April 24, we have a 1.4% total crime increase, but in select areas we do have a 50% decrease in rape, a 42% decrease in GTAs, and a 26% decrease in burglary from motor vehicles. The thing that really skews the number and kind of doesn't give it the effects it needs or to show it is there's a 128% increase in burglary. So we went from 7 to 16. The numbers are in on, let's say, if everyone remembers correctly, at 300 Westmont, there was a large homeless encampment with RVs and a lot of stuff going up there that was illegal. We were able to provide a lot of people the resources. We were able to remove a lot of the RVs, and this was in collaboration with the councilman's office, the private businesses up there, and community members. So the numbers basically show that, let's say, starting from September 11th of 2023 to basically December 31st of 2023, and then comparing it to January 1st of 2024 to April 20th of 2024 for RD 0521, which is primarily the Northwest San Pedro area. We have a 100% decrease in homicides, a 50% decrease in robberies, a 37% decrease in aggravated assaults, a total violent crime decrease of 45%, a 70% decrease in burglary, a 46% decrease in grand theft autos, a 41% decrease in thefts, and overall total property decreased by 43%, and a grand total of 43% decrease in crime. So obviously the removal of that encampment has paid dividends in improving the quality of life of the area. So on top of that, I read obviously the reports that come in, and I go over like several of the arrest reports. And in a 1 week period, we had patrol. They did a traffic stop on a suspect that had felony warrants and arrested him for those warrants and drug possessions. Patrol also conducted a pedestrian stop on a suspicious person, and they were able to obtain, that the person was arrested for ex-con with a firearm. Patrol responded to a TC and did a DUI arrest. Patrol was conducting a extra patrol and observed a stolen vehicle. A pursuit was initiated and arrest was conducted in San Pedro. our narcotics team at 10th and Gaffey near the library was able to arrest somebody for sale of meth. Our gang unit was doing extra patrol and conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle, and the outcome was that there was a felon in possession of a stolen firearm, so that person was arrested. Our quality of life car has made many arrests. So just please know that I just say this, just please know that there are officers out. This is in a 1 week period too. So this is on a daily basis. There's a lot of stuff being done. That's just for our area. So there's a lot being done out there. Upcoming events, we do have a coffee with a cop on May 28th at the Starbucks located off of Westmont and Western at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So I did bring some flyers, and we also have the CPAB on May 30th at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. at Harvard Community Room. That's all I have at this time. Are there any questions?
Okay, I see a hand up. So Melanie?
Yeah, two things. Did you ever get any feedback or find out anything about what I had talked to you about the 2 calls that I made to the non-emergency number and them telling me that they had to talk to the watch commander first before they could dispatch a car out to my request?
I have not, no. I think I would prefer if you were to reach out to the dispatch supervision and they can investigate a little further on that one.
Alrighty, I'll do that then.
It's my best advice, because I can just go with my chain of command for LAPD, but I think that's more so, based on what you said, it's communication.
It's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, you have a complaint, if they have to send a unit out, they should send
And then I've gotten a lot of questions in the Neighborhood Watch about supposedly this weekend there was something to do with a major battery that happened against a person at Target, and there was a major police response there. Do you know anything about that?
Was this yesterday?
Maybe.
Well, I do know that there were officers. Oh, at the Target? No, excuse me, I'm thinking of a different store. I don't know anything about a battery at the Target then. I do apologize. So if you give me a date and time, I can look it up.
I think it was either Saturday or Sunday.
Okay. I don't know anything. And unfortunately, I'll be honest, guys, our report system is being redone right now, the way we turn reports in. It's to a record management system that's basically online. Holy moly, it is bad. So I don't have as much access to reports as I used to. So it's all changing. So it's
and I was gone all weekend in Pasadena for the big getting my music on this weekend, and so I have no idea. I wasn't even home. So
I could look into it. I could call the communications and find out. So
yeah. So
any other comments, questions from around the table? Audience? Any questions, comments? Oh, we have...
How's the baby?
Beautiful. Mother's Day was awesome. Thank you.
Well?
Oh, yes. I'm a very happy father.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
Kira, little beautiful little baby. Life is good. I am blessed.
You know, I had to fix people to tell them that you didn't have it, your wife did, because
I'm sorry, they have part of it. There's a big part to it.
I'm losing sleep too.
Good, that's good to know that you're helping that way.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's
But no, lots of good news for the area, lots of assistance that's going on, and a lot of stuff that we're doing. So I'm happy to help.
thank you.
Anything? Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, that takes care of agenda item number 5. We're going to go on to our consent calendar. We have 3 items on our consent calendar. One is to approve the minutes of April 8th. The next is support a letter for the Port of LA EPA Clean Ports Program application. That's out of Planning and Land Use. Yep. And to approve Kane. I want to...
Nicholas.
Nicholas is your...
Kane is my first name.
I know, but your last name is Nicholas. Nicholas.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to double check because someone said it was pronounced differently. I won't mention who that individual is.
I said it's spelled like Nicholas, but it's Nichols, okay?
Now you know who told me different. So with that, we have 3. Do I have a motion so that we? Okay.
Second.
Thomas. Kelly will. Second. Any discussion?
just quickly wanted to say how excited I am to see Kane stepping up and how helpful he was this weekend at the event. Thank you.
So, that being the only comment, let's go ahead and take the vote count.
Okay, John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio.
Yes.
Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Gwen Henry is still out. Melanie Lebrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
That would be 13. 13 ayes and 1 absent.
Okay. So, thank you. We'll close up item number 6 and move on to item number 7. Item number 7 is something that I would hope that it's going to be kind of maybe get some comments from around the table. But I'd like to start off, and I'm doing this because we don't have a presentation today, so we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about this. We had an event that kind of popped into our radar kind of suddenly from the fire department. Fire Service Day was on Saturday, so they had looked to see if they can get some neighborhood council participation. I am so happy to say that we were the only neighborhood council who participated. I'm happy in the respect that we were there, but I'm a little bit disappointed that we had 2 other neighborhood councils in our community that should have been there, and they weren't. So
We have John to thank for that, though. John pushes and gets everybody ready and everything.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to thank those individuals who showed up, put in the labor and everything else. So this is really great. So I want to make sure that thanks goes to John Barbera. Adam Stevenson was there. Great participation. Kane Nicholas was there. And, it's just starting out and he's already contributing. Angela Sumner, thank you so much for hanging out there in the morning. That was great. Thomas Norman, Ben Norman, and Abby Norman. We had a family affair there, and that was so cool to see. And but I'm not there yet. I'm just commenting on that. We had a family affair there, and then we had our vice president here, Chris Valle, there. And it really promoted the importance of participation. We sometimes find ourselves struggling to get people to go out and help with some of these events that we have here. And we're going to have more events coming now that the summer's here. We really need people to come out and participate. We need people to make sure that part of their participation is not just going out to these events, but it's also making your committee meetings. We've had a kind of a thing that I've noticed, we've had some discussion here, that we've had to kind of put off some of our committee meetings because of quorum issues. We're not meeting quorum, which means that people aren't committing to that other piece of the commitment that comes along with their volunteerism here with the neighborhood council system. So I kind of like to see, maybe put it out there, is there any way that we could make sure that we all participate? Because most of the time it falls on the shoulders of the same people over and over again, coming out and doing these things. And I'm kind of like to open up the table to see what can we do better? What can we do different? What can we do to make sure that there are others out there that come out and help us out? Because it really, kind of gives us a gold star when no one else shows up, but Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council is there. And I'm going to get a nice Lonnie, so I'll call on you. But I just want to say that the feedback that I get from community members, the feedback I get from people from other pieces of the harbor community, is that they can always rely on Northwest. because we're out there. We're out there, and we get out into the community. We need more people out there, because it's like I said, it's still kind of just falls on our on the same handful of individuals. So, Melanie, you had your hand up.
Yeah.
Maybe you can kind of help start the conversation.
So I think part of it is when you get elected to your seat, it's more than just elected to your seat. You're here to represent Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council in all aspects. So that means when we have an event, we should see all our board members showing up and taking turns, doing a couple hours and letting another person do a couple hours. When we have your committee meetings, they aren't just by name only. You need to show up to your committee meetings. Quorum is very important for the work to be done at the committee level. If it's not done at the committee level, then it causes a problem for stuff to be approved at that level, and the meeting just can't function. It's important to know when your meetings are and show up for your meetings. It's important to show up at our neighborhood council meetings and participate in our meetings. But again, being elected in your seat isn't just showing up at monthly neighborhood council meetings. It's showing up at events, showing up at committee meetings, showing up at commission meetings, showing up at meetings that are important around the community, the town halls, the things like that. I try, and like everybody else, you have a schedule that kind of conflicts. Like Saturday, I could not be at the event because I was out $800 for concert tickets. Obviously that's going to take precedence. So I wasn't able to attend, but it's important. There are some things that you can't go to, but it's to make the constant effort to try and be there if you can, if there's not conflicting things going on. Try. And that's the biggest thing, is to try and just not say, oh, I'm elected to the seat, so I get to attend my board meetings every month and that's it.
So how can we get more people? It doesn't mean that you're there every time we do something, but at least get out there periodically to help set up, break down, table. We always have a movie in the park. We're going to need people to help with that. We will have other community events that will that could really use our participation. For instance, the community thing that we're going to have, to kind of raise and highlight, what it is when we have hate in our community and how to combat that as a community. I'm going to give you another example of where we could really use some community participation. Is that, as was stated by Jocelyn, we're in the middle of a public comment period where they're going to be shutting down that Vincent Thomas Bridge, and it's going to affect every single one of us. Everyone is going to be affected by that. Even if you've never used the bridge and you never ever want to use the bridge, the traffic is going to be terrible down here. But I'm going to tell you, here is the time when we can help our neighbors over in Wilmington. Because all the traffic that's not going to hit that Vincent Thomas Bridge is going to be going through Anaheim, PCH, Sepulveda, and they're going to get hit hard with it. They need someone to speak in concert with them. So these are things that we can do as a community, and these are things that I think our voice is really important to get out there and say something.
How many have done the town hall for the Vincent Thomas Bridge? How many of us have done it?
Well, it hasn't.
Yeah, when the virtual thing that they did.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't.
I did it. Vic did it.
But they have one here at Peck Park. They have one at Wilmington, and there are flyers back there so that you can see when those things are going to happen and how to do it virtually. Anyway, I saw some hands up. Lori, I saw yours. Yeah, if you like, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Besides showing up at events, and of course setup and tear down are important, but the board members need to be well informed on what the board's doing. When I asked how many people read my report, I got not one hand raised. I know we're busy, but when I was on the board, I made sure over the weekend, you read it, okay. How can you talk to the community if you're not familiar with what the board is doing? To me, that's part of your responsibility, and I used to send out reminders and links, but it's on the website. It's so easy to find. Take maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, sometime before the board meeting. Usually the packet's posted on Thursday or Friday before the Monday. But know what your board, so, and also when you show up here, you know what kind of questions to ask. I give a summary of this, but if you click on any of the links or read my reports, it's a lot more in depth. Not just about mine, I'm saying about everything, planning and land use, safety. So I just showing up for the events, that's step one. But how are you going to talk to the community if you're not familiar with the work that the board's doing? So I'm just throwing that out there that as board members, I'd like to see people put a little more effort in knowing what we're doing. And then asking good questions, too. You can't just assume when people are presenting things, ask questions about it. So anyway, thank you.
John.
The youth and outreach is what, basically the contribution to all of this. And, every time there's a thing that comes up, usually Chris, Angela, myself, Melanie will help. Kelly's always there when she can. And it just seems like, Tom is there, now Abby shows up. And so Adam's been coming too. He helped me for a few hours. But the thing is, I send out emails to everybody prior to this, and I'll always send out, and I'm sure all of you do, because I get Thomas and Mel and Kelly, and they all answer me, but the rest of the people don't. Now, one of my things is we all like to talk about and say, yeah, we need to get out there. The thing we need to do is go and talk to these people and let the stakeholders know. Well, come out and help. I always end up getting, I'll fill sometimes anywhere from 2 to 3 sheets of people that signed for their name and emails. And this weekend we didn't do too bad. We got almost a full sheet. But that's where you get to talk to these people, even if they're from Coastal. I still tell them I signed them up, that way they can get their stuff. Angela talks to them, Mel talks. Kelly's one that goes out and does a lot of it. And now that, Abby and Tom are there when they can be there, it's one of the things. Chris is over there taking pictures a lot of times and showing up. So all I got to say is it just, for the same people to do this, I got other things I can do too, but I care about the community. That's why I do this, and we present ourselves. We set tables up, we got everything out, I print flyers up the day before, Ray will do some stuff, and then it's there. Just let them out, and then just come and do your thing, talk. If you want people to know who we are, well, then you need to introduce yourselves. You need to come out. There's 17 of us on the board, and the same 5, 6 people that come out, I think we're shorthanded right there. So that's all I got to say, guys.
Kellen?
I've been doing a lot of passing the flyers out. So I had a lot of parents come back to me and tell me how they had such a great time on Saturday. I think that's one way, too, is taking the flyers to, because, I work at a school, so I'm passing them out to parents and to the kids and stuff and getting them excited. The next one is the tall ships. I got that thing. I've been passing that flyer around. Thank you, Yolanda, for having it at Siren so I could get a copy of it because I didn't even know about it. But I'm trying to do that kind of stuff to get the community involved and stuff. And I have parents that have been coming to everything I've invited them to, and they came to me and were so excited. I think we need to do that, too. I think we really need to push the events that are happening within our community because people don't know about them. If you don't go and look at places and look at things, you don't know what's happening. So, just another thing. And don't just put the flyers out of school on the thing because the parents don't look at them. They don't. And then I feel bad because after the event they get thrown away.
King.
I have two comments. One of the comments is like what we're doing like the culture to have fun, like maybe a game night. You know.
Use the mic, Kane. Use the mic.
Okay.
Now that he's on you, they can do it.
Mic check, mic check. One suggestion is some sort of game night, just to kind of have a very informal one where we kind of do like a meet-up somewhere, card game or bocce or something like that. I don't know, but ultimately, first just coming together just as humans, right? Because this is work when it comes down to it. My second thing is I came to the fire day, which was super awesome, because John did send me a text message, and I was wondering if we had a phone tree or automated phone tree that we would kind of receive on things that we wanted people to absolutely come to. And then lastly, setting expectation. There is a lot going on in this community, and we do need leadership, but just us, I think it would be helpful for us to have an expectation on the 80-20 rule, where, we have to understand that 20% of the people are going to do 80% of the work, and being content with being a strong 20% and knowing that versus trying to get everyone to come, because that can be very stressful. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Any other comments? Chris?
Thanks. I started on the neighbor council almost 9 years ago. Lori convinced me, she kind of explained what happened and the type of work that the board does and the committees do. And at the time, it was nothing that was on my radar. It would not have been the sort of thing I would have just wandered in off the street to investigate. When I got involved, and especially at the time, there was a pretty high tempo of activity, and several people, Lori herself, Diana, Ray, people who had been involved with the neighborhood council for quite a while, even at that point. And the sort of quality and the quantity of their work was really what compelled me. Like the story about how this neighborhood council successfully reduced by 2/3 the number of units that they're building over at Ponte Vista, which is an absolute quality of life issue. And then when I heard that, they can actually, that's a tangible result. That's, very impressive. And it sort of set the bar in terms of what was possible for the board. And I thought, well, I'd like to be part of that. And that lesson and things like that, what was it called? Pathways to Employment, another thing that Lori was responsible for mostly. Tremendous amount of work. I mean, really organizing and promoting an actual in-person event with speakers and facilitators and attendees and like the whole 9 yards, a real capital E event, something done essentially from around people's desks and coffee tables, all the work that Diana and Pat continue to do for planning and land use, like just, rolling your sleeves up and digging through stacks of papers and stuff like that. And I saw that being done. I thought, okay, I'd like to be part of that. And to be perfectly honest, it's kind of intimidating. It's like, whether it's somebody who's absolutely driven or somebody who's got this particular set of skills and experience, to do that sort of thing, it sort of, again, sets the bar high. And I, to this day, feel like I'm kind of, kind of standing on those shoulders and kind of, running to keep up. Which brings me to the whole topic of participation. And it's about service. We are elected volunteers, and I remind myself, because it's what I do in my professional life, I follow elected leaders around who are like titular public servants. It's what they do, and watching them do it is exhausting. The little bit of it that I have to participate in is exhausting, and I know that, whether it's a city council member or a county supervisor or head of a department or whatever, it's, I'm assuming they get left alone briefly when they go to sleep, but other than that, they're constantly running. And so, I have these kind of almost unachievable standards of what the output should be. But when I participate on the neighborhood council, I think of it as, I'm not doing it for me. There, as people have said, there's a list of other things I could be or should be doing, but it's service. Like your presence here or at a committee meeting or down at a fire station or, the park or whatever, is an act of service to your community, and it doesn't necessarily look or feel the same way as if you show up and cut a ribbon or shake a hand or give a speech at the podium. But our job is to raise the mood and to make a positive impression of our community onto our community. I think we're here to sort of reflect back to the people of Northwest San Pedro what it looks like to really give a hoot and be involved. And that means, making yourself do things that you might not be inclined to do, things that wouldn't come to mind at first. I didn't, I had to move some things around and accommodate some things, as did Angela, as did John, to be there on Saturday. But, I was there for, I think, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, but it was an infinite amount more than if I just kind of, not picked up the phone or whatever. And if all you can do is a little, then, put 100% into that, whatever that period of time is, trying to remind yourself of ways that you can contribute in between meetings, if there's like an idea that you want to contribute or whatever. Not everybody can do, a Lori or a Diana, which is like to this day is a very impressive and significant amount of work. I've said to my committee, I cannot and will not try to do what Lori did, but they have, risen to the occasion, and I think we have really good participation. All of this to say, when that happens, I think it is an attractive proposition to passersby. So people like me who might have, looked and gone, what are you guys actually doing? When they see good things happen, they go, oh, I'd like to be part of that. When we do something fun, if it's Candy Cane Lane or if we have a movie in the park or, any of the other things we're involved in, that's compelling. That validates and makes this real because it's just people. If we all just evaporate, this is just a rec room, right? So we are the work, and the only thing that comes out of this committee is a result of our efforts. So, please do as much as you can. Please think about ways that you can, make it easier on yourself, even if you can only contribute a little bit, or, if showing up at, 8:45 or whatever to put up a tent isn't something you can do, well, then what can you do? And I think also the recruitment aspect, we were lucky enough to have people come in and volunteer for our committee. I think that's because we're like kind of the public facing committee of the board, but make sure that when you talk about the neighborhood council, which is one of the main things we do with these, talk about your committee, talk about the things that you do, because what, for instance, attracted Kane to youth and outreach might not be the same thing that would attract someone else to issues or to public safety or whatever. And so be sure to communicate, what brings you to the board and what you find valuable, and look for people who, kind of share that. Because it works better if everybody does at least a little something. It's like we could have a couple of people just go nuts and crank it out themselves and, again, lend a hand and bring, plates and napkins, but that kind of grinds them down to a nub as well. And so, I kind of the poster child of reluctant public servant. I like that the work gets done. I like being involved in it. There's times I have to make myself do it. And there's times I go, I'm really not doing enough. And so I try to be straightforward and honest about that and, still get out there and do what I can. So just try and keep it in the back of your mind, at least.
Yeah. I did have the opportunity to go out this weekend and, like everyone, I'm busy. But what did help me to answer your question, Ray, is I got a call from John and I got a call from Ray. And for someone like me who's extremely busy, and sometimes I miss the emails, the contact to say, Pastor Adam, can you come? And I think I've spent like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it was great. But what helped me personally was the contact of you calling me, John, to, remind me that helped for me to be there.
And it's just, guys, in all honesty, it's like, it doesn't take, if it's an hour or two, I enjoy it. And I got to tell you this, it's not because, I'm a sick puppy and I got nothing better to do. Yeah, but I enjoy talking, and you got to realize when people come and they say, they go, and Angela and you guys, Kelly can vouch, when they sit there and how many times, Chris, will they'll say there, and we don't know you do it, really? What do you do? We don't know about the movie, and we don't know about that. People have no idea. I know we all talk about this and that. The newsletter's so important. That's why we try to get it out once a year at least. and let them know what's happening throughout, okay? But the thing is, if you really want, you got to go one-on-one with the stakeholders. I'm finding that out more and more. And let me tell you, Christmas time when we did Candy Cane Lane, the parade, and then we did the Christmas tree lighting, you got to see those kids' face just for a little, I mean, it's like 30 cents to put a little Santa Claus in, but they are so happy. Ask Abby, because she saw the kids, they come up and, can we take that, that makes it worthwhile. That makes it worthwhile. We do the popcorn when we do in the movies. Mel goes and gets that. And we do, it just, you watch a kid's face. It's the greatest. And
it's great. They love the movies.
The parents are there, and the parents will sign up. They'll go, well, we didn't know. We want to know what's happening. I mean, it's a different, I mean, it's like being a pastor, going out and doing your preaching, right? Well, that's what we are, really. We're preaching. We're preaching
to the community.
Yeah,
So, Angela.
Oh, I just wanted to add, I'm wondering, as kind of recapping all of this, because a lot of the people who keep coming out are part of community outreach, the Youth and Outreach Committee, that, maybe we say yes because we feel like it's part of our committee assignment, and through conversations like this, then other people can kind of take that sense of ownership and also feel compelled to turn out for some of these outreach events, that it shouldn't just fall on outreach, but on all of us.
It's not supposed to.
Right. And I think this is a good conversation.
I think one of the biggest problems has been with, not to be specific here, but with outreach, there's been 3 meetings that you guys have not had quorum.
Mm-hmm.
Public safety, we haven't had quorum. Other meetings have not had quorum. And so it's important for us to have quorum in order to get the work done at the community level, and not have no quorum to be able to do the work, and it comes to the board, and then you have to have a motion and a second, when that all should have been vetted out before it even came to the board. And so that's part of the problem. They can't function if you guys aren't having a quorum for outreach, because they have stuff that has to be passed, and for instance, approving the newsletter and all that for it to be done, and it can't get done if the people that have signed up to be that large committee and you not have a quorum. That's kind of crazy.
Thomas.
Yep. One recommendation I'd have for all of us to think about, but it probably lands more in exec, is what I'm hearing is we have a bit of a selection problem, right? Right now we're preaching to the choir. A lot of people here have shown up and are doing things. I wasn't aware of the quorum issue until you just said that, how it was. So, systematically, I think we need to look at the organization. I know it struggled with the Port Environmental Sustainability Committee, with the quorum too, and we merged 2 committees together, and it's helped. And we're looking at following planning and land use, which is one that seems to have less issue with the quorum, but they also have a joint meeting which allows the work to be spread over more time. So maybe it would make sense to look at consolidating some other committees so you can get more of the core members, at least for the quorum, because that's problematic. I know I can do more, we can all see it as all of our work. I think that's good. But sitting around here for a few years now, I think we might have to look at some more reorganization to help us. Plus, I'm excited to see next on the agenda, I think just keeping people engaged when they can't physically be there, if there's a virtual option for the committees.
Exactly.
Even if you aren't physically present to be there, it would help people stay, connected.
And it's going to help committees mainly.
Because if you have the information, you're more willing to go to that next meeting because you're not, falling behind. So I'm glad we're going to consider that. Thank you.
Yep.
Quick comment, and then we're going to move on to the show. I did see your hand up, right? Yeah.
This is about the virtual vote.
What?
The virtual meeting vote?
No. Not yet. We're waiting for you.
This is about participation. So there's a face that we haven't seen in a while.
Oh, wow.
One of our past board members. Thanks for coming out.
Matt DiMaglio, for those who don't know me, former member of the board for I think 5 years. When I started on the board, we didn't have as many board members on the committees. We had people like Jerry Hawkins. What else do we have? Phil Nicolai, who was our port committee chair at the time. And it wasn't just as much on the board members as it was with the committee members. I just went to the website real quick, and it was a lot of board members. And I think that's where, I know you guys want everybody to participate. Not everyone can always participate, but it takes an army, and it takes community. And that's where I think kind of one of the members here had said that game nights and stuff like that. I remember we used to do a Christmas party, or holiday party, I apologize. And that was what created the morale. There's no morale behind this board anymore. It's kind of just, just a meeting. So, yeah, just thought I'd add that, not to point anybody out or, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to bring this item to an end. We have another important thing we need to look at. But I do want to say this last comment. As much as it is important for us to get out and send the message of the neighborhood councils to others, that they get to know us and get to understand what we do and how we do it and the information we share out, which is really important. The other thing that is equally important is the fact that when you're out there, you get to hear what the community is saying to you. You get to come back and you get a true representation of what the community hopes to get, their expectation of what they want from their elected officials. We do have the ear of our city council member. We do have the ear of the mayor. We do have the ear of the various departments around here, law enforcement, fire department, building and safety, and things like that through our participation in neighborhood council. So if we hear something that a community member or a neighborhood is having a problem with, then we can advocate for them. And I think that's the other real important piece to our work, is our ability to advocate for our communities. Because we are here to represent them, not to represent our own personal ideas and how things should be done. So, okay, last comment.
That's the question here. That was the right question. Why did we join this council?
Yeah.
Just to let people know, hey, guess what? I'm on the council. Yeah. I thought we joined this thing to help the community out.
Right. So anyway, I want to bring this section to an end, to a close. I took some notes, got some good input, but I think now moving forward, it's more of a personal choice for each individual to say, how can we as individuals make Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council soar higher than it's already it's already reaching, because we're pretty good. I hear good things about our neighborhood council.
I do
to be
too.
honest with you, I love to continue to hear that same input, and it all because of the people around this table and the people who sit out in there in the audience. The most gratifying thing that I saw was a month, 2 months ago, is when we had 80 students in our audience.
Yep.
That was the coolest thing to see. That was the coolest thing to see. Anyway, with that, I want to close agenda item number 7 out. Let's move on to agenda item number 8, and this is the reconsideration of reconsideration of SB 411 for our neighborhood council. And Vic Christensen, you want to take it away?
Okay, I know this has been a long time coming to get back to this. I want to start out by addressing what appears to be the most confusing and contentious part of this right off the bat, so people aren't wondering what this means. But one of the things that approving this resolution does not mean is that we immediately go back to full-time 100% virtual meetings. What it does mean is it gives us the option to do so if we so choose. We have 8 legislative bodies in this neighborhood council, the board itself, this meeting, and 7 standing committees. Each of those 8 bodies can choose whether they want to meet virtually or whether they want to meet in person. They can choose to do that at the extreme, virtual, in person, and alternate. Just that is just to show the flexibility that it allows. It doesn't mean we should necessarily alternate like that, but approving this does give us the option to do so if we wanted to, if each committee and the board wanted to. We've already heard tonight that some committees haven't been able to meet quorum, and I know a few meetings ago there was a comment that even if they could meet quorum, they had to wait because people weren't there yet and they had to wait to get to quorum, and that either prevented or delayed business being done, and it hurt the ability to support the community. There is a sheet in the agenda packet, I believe it's page 32, that are the highlights from Senate Bill 411, which is the bill that was passed to allow neighborhood councils specifically to go back if they wanted to or when they wanted to meeting virtually. So the 2 choices we currently have are meeting in person, 100%, or meeting hybrid according to Assembly Bill 2449. The only location I'm aware of in this area to meet in a hybrid setting is the San Pedro Chamber of Commerce, which is where the joint planning and land use committees regularly meet. If there are other places in the area, I'm not aware of them, but there could be. Peck Park would not allow that because we don't have the infrastructure network-wise here to do that. So some of the highlights are that each neighborhood council can elect to approve or authorize. The way the bill is written, it uses the word authorize. The ability to go virtual essentially whenever they want to once the resolution is approved. So it doesn't require you to go virtual. The way I like to say it is it inspires but doesn't require. And the decision to actually have a virtual meeting take place would lie with each of the legislative bodies, so each committee could decide separately, and we as a board for this meeting could decide separately. And like I said, it does allow the flexibility to change the format every other meeting if you wanted to. I'm not advocating that be the case, but it does allow you to do that. If we would approve it here, we'd notify the city council through Dunn, and they would, with justification for doing so, and then they would have the option to disapprove it. But I don't think of the approximately 50% of the neighborhood councils that have submitted CISs so far, most of which have been unanimous yes. Some have been vast majority yes, but I don't think any of them have been turned down. Some of the things that SB 411 does are kind of status quo for what we've done in the past, nothing new. Meeting agendas must include internet-based details, which is status quo for what we did when we were virtual. Any disruption in broadcast under the NC's control requires the meeting be stopped. That's status quo when we were virtual. Does not require or shall not require public comments to be submitted in advance of the meeting. That's status quo no matter how we meet. At least a quorum of the neighborhood council shall participate from locations within the boundaries of, in this case, Northwest San Pedro. So even if we were to meet virtual, a quorum would have to meet from within the boundaries of their neighborhood council. Now, if you remember back when one of our members first joined, I believe he had a last-minute travel plan or something, and at least for a while, and maybe a couple people were meeting from virtually, meeting from across the country. But as a rule, that wouldn't be the case. It would be most people within the boundaries. And then this may be one of the more important parts. At least once per year, even if we're meeting 100% virtual, say 11 meetings out of the year, at least once per year, it must be in person, or at least a quorum of the board must meet in person. So we would still have at least one meeting per year that is in person. And those are pretty much the highlights of the bill itself. Now, when we first talked about this, I didn't go into a lot of detail back then, and I think there was some confusion, and I want to address some of the comments that came up at that time. And some of them we've already talked about, with not being able to meet quorum because people weren't there or having to wait for people to show up and that kind of thing. We heard again tonight that more committees couldn't meet quorum and couldn't get business done. Yes, there were a lot of students here. Sometimes we usually have a spike at the same time of year because they're trying to get their government hours. But that's more of an exception than the rule. As you can see, we don't have any here tonight. We didn't have any, I believe, I don't know if it was last time we didn't have any either, but once they got their hours, they stopped. And that actually was similar in the past too. We already talked about alternating if we wanted to. People who are injured or ill or possibly even out of the area could still meet if we had meetings virtually. That way they would still be able to participate, which is one of the goals of meeting like this, is to increase the participation, which has been a reason that a lot of I looked at nearly all of the CISs that were submitted by the other neighborhood councils, and one of the main reasons they give for wanting to do it is it increases their participation. And as I think Adam stated in the past, when he first came on, he noticed how many people were participating when we were virtual and how it dropped when we went back to in-person. And I've got some data in here from the past meetings, both virtual and in person, to show that that's exactly the case. There was pretty much more participation when we were virtual, and it was a noticeable drop when we went back to in person. Some people, one comment was that they were zoomed out. And in a teaching environment, that is a totally separate issue. I agree with the teaching environment, especially high school and below, that in-person is definitely better by a large scale, because especially students at that age, they typically learn better when they're in person. This is not that environment. This is a meeting environment, an office type environment where you have like an office type meeting. So while that is true for the teaching environment, I don't think that applies here. Community needs to be support the community. We can do that either way. The goal is to support the community, so we have to decide what the best route and method to do that is. We can do it in person, yes, but we had more attendance and more participation when we were meeting virtually. So when you're looking at how to support the community the best and how to get the most participation, you can't just stick with one method. There are times when you need to, where both would come into play. I believe there were multiple comments that basically said virtual meetings weren't what we signed up for. That's true. In-person meetings were also not what we signed up for. There is nothing in the neighborhood council oath or anywhere else that says the format of the meeting. It says, and this is coming straight from the oath, I will represent my neighborhood council and stakeholders, build community, forge bonds with neighboring communities, promote participation in city governance. That's a key one, because with the increased number of people that were meeting, that were on when we met virtually, that's promoting participation in city governance and the decision-making process to improve the quality of life for all stakeholders. I have pledged to do this to the best of my ability. On that one in particular, if we don't approve to meet virtually or authorize to meet virtually, we are not using the best of our ability. We are only using the in-person part of it, and that is part of it, but that's not all of it. And as far as improving the life of stakeholders, another reason besides increased participation that a lot of the NCs have used is the health and welfare and safety because of the COVID part, for one. And when it's at the time of the year when it gets darker sooner, some people don't want to drive at night or can't drive at night. They may not want, if they're students in particular, they may not want to be walking at night to get here. So meeting virtually is an option that keeps them still able to participate in a safer environment. Let's see, one comment was that Zoom was a disaster. Well, when you see that there are almost, give or take, 50% of the other NCs, of all the NCs, who have approved the authorization to go virtual, I don't see, and you've heard people here also advocating for that, I don't call that a disaster. You know, are there technical difficulties sometimes? Sure. As you can see, meeting in person, we had a technical difficulty. So technical difficulties aren't held to only meeting virtually. And no, I didn't set this up just to say that. It's not a conspiracy. I didn't do it. I wasn't even here. And one comment was that there are older people who can't use computers or don't know how to use computers. Yes, that's a true statement. There are also people who are mobility challenged, either because they're caregivers, they say they're wheelchair-based, whatever the case may be, and they can't get to in-person meetings. So that's kind of a wash. Either way, you have people who may not be able to attend. But when you look back at the data and you see that more people attended virtually than they did in person, that tends to suggest that there are less people who can't use a computer than there are who can't get to a virtual meeting or to an in-person meeting. Another comment was that people had their screens off, and they could be doing whatever and have their screens off so you couldn't see them. And very valid point. And we could easily solve that by adding a standing rule, modifying our standing rules. I believe AB 2449 requires this, that when you're having a meeting, the board members or committee members in committee meetings must have their cameras on all the time. One idea I thought of is when you turn your camera off, it's like you left the room.
Yep.
So, that's just my idea. That's not necessarily something that would end up in the in the standing rule change if that's the way we went. But that's, an easy way to address that problem. Somebody mentioned that, yes, we had, the virtual attendance was better, but look who was there. It was people's relatives and things like that. Kind of an irrelevant qualification, because it doesn't matter who you're related to. If you satisfy the requirement for being a stakeholder, you count. I don't care if you're a husband or wife or daughter or son or whatever. You're still a stakeholder if you meet the requirements for being a stakeholder. And so you still count as being, I guess you could say, a valid attendee. Yeah, and that pretty much covers the comments that were mentioned last time, or a few times ago, actually. What may be hard to see because it's in the agenda packet and we're not able to show it on the screen is if you go to page 15. Let's start with page 16. The squiggly line graph that looks like somebody took some pieces of yarn and threw them on the table. And the writing is very small, which is why I wish we could show it on the screen. But those spikes with some writing on there are some of our special events that we had, some of the town halls. Some of them are the spikes for the student government hours attendance and things like that. And in my opinion, that kind of skews the being able to look at what it really means, because those are essentially one-time things. So if you go back to page 15, you see the same data with those spikes removed. And the blue, and the reason there are some gaps in there where the lines do not connect is because I either didn't have the data or a meeting was canceled, and so there were gaps in the data there. But the vertical line toward the right is that was March. And that was the last meeting that we were allowed to meet virtually. And if you look to the left of that, and then compare it with the right, you can see, and that blue line, the top blue line is the board meeting. All those lines down near frankly, down near the zero are committee meetings.
Oh, wow.
So you can see that there was more attendance when we met virtually, and it trended downward afterward. Now this goes to, I believe, December. I don't have the data here for this year, for the board, but I know for at least 2 committees that I'm on, 3. And this is stakeholder attendance. That's what this is showing. This is not showing board member attendance. So this is the community that we're trying to attract, trying to get to participate, that slowed down in their participation when we went back to in-person meetings. The 3 committees that I'm on, we've had pretty much 0 stakeholder attendance since the beginning of the year, with the exception of some students getting their last-minute government hours. And so this is the objective data, regardless of what I may think and what anybody else may think. This is the real objective data. This is how many people showed up and didn't show up. So I think, going back to the main purpose of this resolution, it is not to require any of us to go back to virtual meetings. It is to give the option to all of us, as each committee individually and as the board separately, so 8 different groups, to decide when and whether to meet virtually if we know, say, that certain people are going to be out of town, or if assuming that doesn't break the, within the boundaries rule. Or if we know some people are sick or aren't going to be available or whatever the case may be, and we want to schedule it virtually ahead of time, then we can do that. Obviously, once we post the agenda, we can't change it just because something like that happens. But if we know ahead of time, then we can do that. Or we can choose to do that, because we get better attendance, whatever the case may be. But the point of this resolution is to allow us to do it if we need or want to. It doesn't say we're going to have to do it. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden something changes and we start meeting virtual for the next 11 months until we have to go back to our one in person or something like that. So I'm hoping that everybody understands that this does not mean that everything is going to go back to virtual just because we, if we approve this resolution to authorize it. And
So
I
do we
think
have to
with
call
that,
the
I will
question?
let.
So we have to call the question? Do we have to?
Well, no, we
have to motion.
No, we already approved the motion to reconsider. So at a past meeting.
Oh,
So
okay.
at this point, we're essentially in discussion.
Okay.
The whole time. So I'll let the president now talk about, recognize people to speak.
So we'll do public comment, and then I guess call for public comment. So anyway, I see one hand here, and then I see
There's one here.
Chris, Gwen, and then I know. So go ahead, Melanie, Chris.
So basically what Victor's saying is, we'll probably just stay as far as I'm not under the impression meetings in public, in person for the board, but the committee meetings, I think this would be perfect to solve the quorum problem for virtual. I mean, in budget and finance is 3 people. And nobody really comes to that. It would be an option for budget and finance to meet. It would solve the quorum problem for outreach. And so this is a fix for some of the problems that we were talking about in the being involved earlier. It would fix a lot of those problems. I think this is more for the committees versus our board meeting, in all honesty.
Chris.
I think that again, our experience over COVID kind of drove the point home that more is more. That in a real sense, being able to be here right now is kind of a luxury. If the kind of work I did in the past, I wouldn't be able to be here at 6 p.m. on a Monday night. And there's a lot of people, if they have school-age children or they're still at work or whatever it is, they just can't do it. And we have as much responsibility to accommodate their needs as the people who clearly are okay with our current arrangement. And far beyond being just a fix for some of our organizational issues with committees or whatever, getting more people to watch what we do is kind of the point. The whole point of this is for us to demonstrate our care and commitment to the community. When that is seen, then it hopefully tends to amplify and repeat, and just giving more access, and the whys and the wherefores and the whatever of what the calendar would look like, and how it would be done is a whole separate thing. But I think we should absolutely approve the motion to authorize this, and then begin to do the real kind of headache work of how does that actually look. But it's the future. It's a force multiplier that we didn't have any comparable alternate to. There was no other way for us to get more people into our meetings unless they, again, needed the hours or whatever. And we're just not going to get, 50 or 60 people attending a meeting and stay for the entire 2.5 or 3 hours in person. I think that it's a better way for us to serve a larger part of our community.
Gwen.
We just had a discussion about more participation
physical participation of this board. I believe that this board is committed to, and I hope that all of you are committed to, actually being here in person for these meetings. But you know, last time I was not at the board meeting. I would have liked to have been participating virtually, or at least listening in. You guys had quorum, but I would have liked to have listened in. I feel I missed out because there was nothing virtual. There was not that option to listen virtually. And I do believe that there are a lot of people out there in the community that would like to listen in. There's the CPAB meetings. The CPAB meetings are one that bring a lot of people from all over CD15. And they also do it live, and they record it. And I have on many occasions been driving to it and just listening to it like it's on the radio. And if I'm tied up, I get to listen to the recording afterwards. We need to have this option. There's no excuse not to do it. And I've got to tell you honestly that last time when we voted, it never occurred to me that everybody would vote no. Never occurred to me in a minute. So I hope that you consider this, that the community, we need more participation. There are many people who we could recruit. There's wonderful people in a new community over there that we should be recruiting. And if they can't make it because of their busy lives, they can listen to it from their homes. That's the way to recruit and engage.
I saw Lori, and then Vic will wrap it up with you as well. Oh, Matt, and Matt. Okay.
I'm sorry, but I find this conversation extremely sad. You know, well, first of all, Cox was down all day today, so anybody in the Cox internet wouldn't be able to be on here. You barely were able to get this meeting going because of a power outage. Diana was telling me they couldn't have a meeting because Zoom went down. Okay, and I still think it's discrimination against people who aren't online. I listened to all the arguments here. I do recall several board meetings where we heard people snoring from our board. Okay, on the Zoom meetings. Okay, we all heard it. Okay, I want to engage with people. I know that the pandemic brought a new technology and an opportunity for us to have other avenues, but whether you do hybrid or whatever, as soon as you do this, technology sometimes fails us. Yes, the arguments, maybe people can't make it here. I think part of the reason that we aren't having quorum at committees is exactly what Matt said, is our committees have mainly all board members. The committees have all not done a good job in outreach in getting people in the community to be part of these committees. Okay, we need to engage more. And also, we haven't really had presentations at the last few meetings. I know when I was on outreach, I begged people, if you have an interesting thing coming up on the meeting, tell outreach so they can promote it. Tell them we're going to talk about the PAIP, or we're going to talk about the Vincent Thomas Bridge, or whatever it is. The public doesn't know. They just think it's a routine board meeting. It's our job to engage the community, make it interesting, tell them what's going on. I just find it sad. I know everybody's looking for the convenience, and I get that, but you are missing a lot with the personal touch. When I used to give my homeless liaison reports online, I felt like I was just talking to Lori. That nobody was listening. Well, sometimes I feel like that here too, but online it was even worse. If any of you during the pandemic had to do presentations online, it was like you were talking to yourself. They actually were giving classes on teaching people how to present online to try and hold people's attention, because people are multitasking. They're not listening. Okay, so I understand we should vote to have the right for this, but let's look at this seriously. Just because you make the Zoom meeting available, and I still disagree with your statistics that we had more participation on Zoom. Okay, I totally disagree. I've looked at the numbers. I have not missed a board meeting in about 6 years. Okay, and I know those statistics are not accurate. So I just wanted to express as a stakeholder that I think we're really losing something, okay? And maybe it's like Vic says, we just want the option. I just hope if you do that, that you seriously think about each committee and board meetings. I certainly hope board meetings do not become Zoom. Thanks for letting me share.
Sam?
Good evening. I'm thinking about, excuse me, the old folks at home. Maybe they're watching their grandkids. They got a lot of experience they'd like to share. Maybe they're recovering from surgery or they're just under the weather or something like that. Let's give them a chance to participate. Thanks.
I'll put you, hang on. Matt? I'm sorry? No, it's okay.
No, we got a routine or whatever.
I'm
We
just
do.
recognizing that Anna will
Hi.
be on the list.
Me again. Hi. I just don't agree with the Senate, I guess, is what the stance is. I stepped out, but yeah, I agree with 100% what Lori said. You need somewhere to have your meetings. You can't meet online. If you meet online, you're not accountable. You can't be talked to like you are now, face to face. I went on every single one of your meetings when they're online. You might have not seen me because I was on there for a short period of time because I kind of lost interest, which there goes your numbers of I'm sitting there watching and I'm not interested. Or I'm listening over my dad's shoulder in the meeting and I'm getting upset, not interested, not feeling heard because we have the magic mute button. You know, I've urged the board to continue to vote no, not because I'm not for technology. I mean, I live on my phone. But our website isn't anywhere near it needs to be. In fact, I was trying to find, this last meeting, I was at the board meeting, I was trying to find one of Diane Nave's items, and I had a hard time finding it. Not Diane Nave's fault, but I couldn't find the item. If I'm at home, I don't know how to find it. And I'm a 25-year-old guy who lives on the computer sometimes. And so I don't think we need to support this. I think we need to continue to think on it, sit on it, and then we need to also continue to have in-person meetings. Always. Always. Because that you're accountable. And yeah, I guess that ends my rant. Thank you.
Diana.
Diana.
Thank you. Yeah, I would urge that. I hate to disagree with Lori, but I would urge the board to vote in favor of this. We've been using it for our planning and land use committee meetings as hybrid meetings, and not only does it have the advantages that Vic mentioned in terms of participation, but it has another advantage to us, which allows city staff who are downtown LA to present to us without having to drive down here. So we get better participation from city staff. We get more information. We're able to see it visually better. And so it has been very, very effective for our committee. And so I would urge this board to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Kane?
Good evening. I would recommend that we keep it as an option for hybrid. I have a young family in multiple schedules and very active in the community. And so I understand the flexibility of this motion and measure where on a board level versus committee level, having the flexibility to do that and empowering the committee chairs to operate at that, what works for that particular committee. As we know, some committees are slower than others, and some are fast. So again, the goal is to get the business done. And I would also, in the data, encourage maybe a count on motions, public comment, and obviously attendance. To kind of to gauge productivity versus participation, because once we get the work done, then we can have fun and things of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Man, Lori comment and he's trying to
We have people who are in line that haven't made their comments. Well, and Vic, I think, wants to wrap it up. But let me go to Adam, then I'll go to you, then I'm going to go to Vic, and then we got to take the
Abby has her hand up. She's just not.
Oh, I didn't see her hand. Okay, Abby. I mean, let's go with Adam. Then Abby.
I just want to share that I believe it gives us the opportunity again to be flexible and gives us the option, right? And I know we talk about participation, but let's just be blunt. Even in our meetings, there's not much participation. You get the same 4 people who talk every meeting, period, right? That's that part. So it's not as if the participation is going to go up or down, because across the board, if we would look at the notes, you get about the same people who make comments every month. All right, so that's first. Then no one, and there's probably no organization that has had to pivot or reimagine more than the church. All right, so I've lived it and been forced to be flexible, and someone who was able to have services and Bible studies in person all the time, and people came to church once COVID came and we had to reimagine. I get the people who come, but most of the people, my Bible study has ballooned by 50% because I have an option for people and mothers. My church services, people don't come to church every Sunday, and just the fact that they have an option, my numbers are up, right, online and everything. So much so that it caused me and my congregation to have to spend $20,000 just to update cameras and everything, because people want the option and the flexibility. And I would guarantee that there is no organization that has had to pivot and work hard to keep engagement more than churches have since COVID. So I'm coming from a personal point of view that I understand that it works, and if you do not give the option, and if I did not give the option, my church would have died, and that is possible or plausible for neighborhood councils to, if you do not reimagine and think of people. And probably other than Abby, I'm the youngest person here, all right? One of the youngest people here who still have kids and everything, and I'm grateful and thankful for the experience here and those who are retired, but coming from someone who is 42, and other younger people, you give them the opportunity, whether they're cooking dinner or whatever with their children, to still be engaged. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
So let me see. I have, Matt, you said you want to make a quick statement?
Yeah.
Very quick, because I'm going to finish it off. Oh, and I'm sorry, Abby. Yeah. Abby, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to, I agree with Adam that the youth, I think, I don't really see, I'm 16. I don't know if anyone here is in high school, maybe like one person. Yeah, but I'm just wondering, like, I think that when my brother Alec was on Zoom meetings for neighborhood council, he like recruited a lot of kids, and I feel like there was more avid participation, and we have to accept that Zoom is a thing, and the youth needs an outlet, because I only just got my license, and there's a statistic that like Gen Z does not have their license. How are they going to get here? Their parents are working. So if it's just an option, like it's not going to be like fully online. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Matt?
I just wanted to point out, when I was on the board, you guys were always upset when a city representative was not here. It's the same thing when they're online. They're not here. They're in their office downtown LA. They're not walking into Peck Park, seeing that the pool's not working. They're not seeing anything that's wrong, and they're not driving to us to see any of the problems that are on the way. Like on Berrywood, there's a bunch of dirt that's just accumulated because of pipe breakage, and there was no street cleaning that cleaned up the area at 5 in the morning. And so that's where I think we need to make sure that I agree with the online, but I don't agree with the board being online. I think the community should be online, and that's it. Community online, they can call in, and or web in, whatever the version they'd like, and that's it. Like Adam said, Adam's in person. You're in person. Your delegation, all your people are online. They're at home. So we need our church to be open, and our community to watch it. but not our board. And that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Okay, we really got to wrap this up. Thomas, if you can make it as quick as you can, because Vic wants to say his last word, and then we're going to take the vote.
I'll make it as quick as I can now that I've heard that. So I think for doing our job and reaching the largest number of the public, which is our responsibility, we need to vote for this option. I love the ability we can record this so people can watch it later in the community. More people in the community will be able to see it if there's one more modality. I do think committee chairs, if they choose, should look at hybrid. They should look at online very carefully. I agree with Lori Jacobs. It is sad, but it's also sad that since 1990, we now have 32% of people in America have fewer than 3 friends, and 12% don't have a single friend. Right? We're facing a loneliness epidemic. We don't have people bowling. We don't have the leagues. When I look around at those, from 40 to 20 that are in any civic groups, I think if you don't have an online gateway for them to see, like we see in the churches, they're less likely to come in person. It's incredibly important to come in person, but to not allow this option for the generation I've seen, the 4 or 5 years of high schoolers, I think would be making a mistake for the future neighborhood council. Thank you.
Thank you. Vic, you got the last word. Then we'll vote.
Okay, just an addition to one of the previous comments that was made a while back. One comment was made that when we're looking at the numbers, not only the relatives and things like that, but also you have people from other areas, Random Lengths reporter, and people from other neighborhood councils. Yes, okay, so what's your point? To me, that would be a badge of honor. If you have people out from outside the neighborhood council interested in finding out what's going on in this neighborhood council, that's a good thing. You have people from outside the neighborhood council, possibly from other neighborhood councils, telling you what's going on in their neighborhood council. That's a good thing. That way we get a bigger picture of what's going on in San Pedro as a whole, and that helps us better support our community because we know we don't have this myopic view of just Northwest San Pedro. Some of the comments I heard today, Zoom being down was a done problem. They did something to reconfigure our account sometime within the last week or so before the joint planning and land use meeting happened, because that's when I scheduled the meeting, was shortly before this happened. So that is a fluke. Tech fails, yeah, it does. Tech failed here tonight, temporarily. It's a fluke. It's not a regular occurrence, and that shouldn't be thought of as the rule and an excuse for not voting for this. People snoring on camera during Zoom meetings. That kind of seems like it's the individual's problem, not the format's problem. I do recall that too, but that's not Zoom.
Can we bring this to an end? We have to take the vote. We're running out.
Okay, just one thing.
All right.
As far as if I understood what Matt said, sitting at the computer, not being interested, and if I'm wrong, then that was my interpretation of what he said. You can sit here live and not be interested too. So it's not, again, that's true, but it's true in either format.
This isn't a debate.
So
let's just get the point and let's just go, okay? Listen, this is not a debate.
And
so,
all right, and with that, I would call the previous question.
Okay, we're going to call for the vote. Cheryl, you ready?
No, I'm not taking it. You want to take it?
I'm sorry?
Are you doing it, Vic, or?
I can do it.
Okay, because I saw you up there earlier. I thought maybe
it's just.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go. Ben.
Okay, so again, this is just to author. This resolution is to authorize the option of having virtual meetings. It is not requiring any particular legislative body that we have of the 8th to have the virtual.
You're repeating. Let's just go ahead. We're wasting time.
I want to make. I'm just. Yes, I'm repeating what the resolution is, so people know what it is.
We got to go.
Okay, John Barbera.
No.
Where is he? No. Dick Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio.
No.
Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie Albrecht.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
No.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Faye.
Yes.
We need to have a 2/3 vote on this, right?
We need 11. We have 11. 11 ayes, 3 nays.
Okay.
I feel like we have this over and over until it was voted to
We just reconsidered it one time only. That was the request.
3 or 4 times.
So, okay, we're going to go on to our motions. I'd like to go planning and land use real quick because they have a number and then we can go through the other stuff real quick. So we're going to move it up to next on the agenda, planning and land use. Diana?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Planning and Land Use has 4 action items before you tonight.
What's your CIS number, Diana? It says CIS, but no number.
Oh, I'll have to give it to you afterwards. I thought it was in there. I'll have to send it to you. The first is a proposed CIS supporting the increased funding for the construction and maintenance division of the Harbor Department.
Oh, wait. Page?
It's on page 46.
Is it 41?
6.
46, I think. Oh, 40. Try 41.
41, because I see it 24. Oh, it's 240600. Okay, because budget and finance is doing one on that.
So it does have the, yeah, it has the CF number in there. That's what I thought. So anyway, this would be to support increased funding for the construction and maintenance division of the Harbor Department. The port has built a number of public features, such as the promenade and the Wilmington Buffer Park. However, they've done a very poor job of upkeep. And so the purpose of this increased funding would be to strengthen their upkeep. So that is the first one, and I would like to suggest, I noticed there's also a motion regarding the budget, and I would say that this ought to be, in addition to being CIS funded with the port, that this ought to be put into that letter as well.
Okay.
When you get to that letter, I would suggest amending it to add this if this carries.
What we could do, can I make like an amendment to this? What about adding this to the budget and finance portion, the whole letter, because we address each department, and then just adding this to it?
That's what I was suggesting was
okay.
This be added to that.
So could we just pass this and then add it to the budget and finance one? I just cut and pasted onto.
You can just add the language.
Add the language.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Into the budget and finance.
Yeah,
whole
and
letter.
in addition to that, it still needs to be a separate CIS to be filed with the Harbor Department.
Okay. Alrighty.
So which is why we need to act
vote
on
it
it
separately and then just add it into the letter that I'm doing to the mayor.
So,
But first it has to
out of committee?
It's out of
Okay.
yeah.
Comment?
Yeah, it's out of committee.
Public comment? I see no hands. Oh. What's up?
Can I just make a quick comment?
Yes.
I walk there every day, almost, and I completely agree. It needs maintenance.
Okay.
We could show you a whole slide of what needs maintenance, but you don't need to see it. It needs it.
Okay. Any other comment? I see no hands. Let's call for the vote.
Cheryl, did John leave? John DeMiglio? Okay. Okay. John Barbera.
Yes.
Dick Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Faye.
Yes.
Let's see. 13 ayes and no nays.
All right. Number 2?
The next one is the PAIP recommendations. As you may recall, there will be approximately $62.5 million available for waterfront access projects in San Pedro over the next 5 years. Some of this will probably be taken off the top by the port, but we don't have a clear picture on that. Members of the Planning Committee looked at the connectivity plan, and we looked at the recommendations that this board submitted 5 years ago for the PAIP funds, and came up with a list of 12 projects for consideration. We had these boards that you can see in front of you made for all 12 of those projects, and we asked for community input on them at the first Thursday in April. We had approximately 165 people participate in that process, including a significant number of students. In addition to the projects that we had selected and made the boards for, we had a place for people to propose their own, and there was one project that was proposed by Lammy that got a fair amount of attention at that time. We also conducted, thanks to Thomas, we conducted an online survey for those unable to attend. So the Planning Committee reviewed the results of all of that input, and then we developed a list of priorities for submission. We also had 3 proposed policies for consideration by the board. This is all on starts on page 42 in the packet. For some reason, when there are corrections to things, they stay, and I haven't been able to take out the track changes. So you'll see all the changes in there. The 6 priorities we're recommending are, first, the development of a non-auto transit on a separated right-of-way. This was part of our top priorities in 2019 and was the overwhelming favorite of those attending the public input session. Our second recommendation is what's being called the San Pedro Waterfront Gateway. This is basically the project that you heard presented by Jonathan Williams. This would beautify the area from the 47 freeway to the exit to approximately 4th Street. It would improve the parking lot in front of the Iowa, and it would have a pathway that would connect the cruise terminal to the Iowa, to the downtown harbor, and to the promenade, thus inviting visitors and residents to continue to explore the waterfront. Our third priority was wayfinding, parking management, and smart parking. We felt this was important because it would help ease traffic. Fourth priority, a pedestrian or bicyclist bridge across the Harbor Boulevard, somewhere near the 6th or 7th Street, connecting downtown to the waterfront. Again, this would have good improvement to the flow of traffic on Harbor Boulevard, as you didn't have people constantly crossing, and that's an area where we get a lot of crossing. Our fifth one was improvements to the 6th and Harbor Boulevard intersection that was proposed in the connectivity plan. This included creating a colorful crosswalk, signage, lighting, and landscaping. These relatively inexpensive improvements could be done quickly and have a visible impact. And the last one was the beautification of the Fisherman's Slip, including landscaping and a promenade that would connect the West Harbor Promenade and with Alta Sea and 22nd Street. So that's a summary, short version. You have before you the letter to the port with those containing those recommendations and some policy recommendations as well.
Out of committee?
Out of committee.
Comments? I see no hands. Can we call for the vote?
Okay, John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eden.
Yes.
Glenn Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kayla Miller. Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Can I make one friendly
Michael
amendment?
Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, 13 ayes, 0 nays.
Can I make one friendly amendment? It's just one word. On the very last
Discussion is over.
passed.
Somebody needs to change I would love to see, because it's not an I to we. That's it.
Okay, next.
The next one is a letter regarding the Sea Line extension, and it's on page 56 in your packet. Metro has asked for public comment on their plans to extend the Sea Line to Torrance. Our proposed comments support this extension in concept and reiterate the position that this board has previously taken, requesting that they include its extension to San Pedro in future plans, and that they work with the port to secure a right-of-way to the waterfront and to downtown San Pedro. This did pass out of committee. However, because of the technical Zoom problems that we had that night, it's been suggested that we go ahead and have a second here tonight.
I so move on this. We need the sea line to be continued.
I
down
second
here.
this.
I so move on this. I move it. We need the sea line continued down here.
Gwen seconds that.
Okay. Discussion. Okay, we had motion, second, discussion. No hands. Call for the vote, please.
John Barbera.
Aye.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie Albright.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, 13 ayes, 0 nays.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The sea line is the same thing as the green line?
Yeah, it's going. They had it just going to Torrance, and remember when they came? Like, what are you doing here if you aren't even going to consider San Pedro? Said Bob. Remember what's his name, Bob?
Just answer the question, please.
Had asked. Yeah. And it's a sea line. It's a green line that'll come all the way down, all the way to Pedro. Which
Let's go. Move.
Sometime many years in the future, but at least put it into your plans.
Hopefully in my lifetime.
40 years in the future.
So the last item out of planning tonight is a letter of support for the West Harvest application for a master conditional use permit for alcohol. This is on, I thought I needed the page.
49.
49, okay, thank you. You may recall that in the past we have considered conditional use permits for alcohol for a variety of establishments. The conditional use permit runs with the property as an allowable use. In this situation, West Harbor has asked for a master permit that would cover virtually all of their property. As shown on page 49 of your agenda, the master CUP that they're asking for would allow for up to 36 restaurants, 1 winery, 1 distillery, 6 bars, 2 breweries, 3 more barges, 1 coffee shop, 1 wine bar, 1 spa, and 3 performance spaces and communal courtyards. This is an envelope of allowability. They do not anticipate having all of those things happen. But because there's turnover in establishments, they're asking for approvals for all of these things in the event that one of them does come in and they want to have that. The master CUP also requests dancing and entertainment permits where applicable. Each individual tenant operator, each restaurant, or if it's a bar, or if it's a brewery, would still have to go to the state ABC to get an individual alcohol license. So this is not that. This is just saying that these are allowable uses on this property. They also, each individual tenant would also have to get an administrative clearance from the City of Los Angeles. And then West Harbor is also going to be seeking an area of common consumption designation from the state that would allow a person to buy alcohol beverage in a restaurant, just in a restaurant, and carry it to another location within the approved designated area. This was unanimous out of committee.
Comment? I see no hands. Go ahead, call for the vote.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Gwen. Oh, yes.
Melanie Albright.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
13 ayes, no nays.
Okay.
Ray, would you mind if I gave my report now, too? I have 3 small items.
we can do it quick, and
Yeah,
then
they're
'cause
quick.
We are way over time.
Yeah, I'll do it real quick. The first one is the, just because people have asked about the Western Plaza Strip Mall, they've announced some new tenants after their remodeling. John's gone.
Yeah.
I thought John would want to hear this. One of them is going to be a Habit, a mattress firm, and California Fish Grill, and the O'Reillys will stay.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, that Western Plaza Strip Mall that I talked about last month.
Yeah.
Is that up on Western?
The one on Western, the one that they're totally remodeling. Last month I described that they were remodeling it.
Yeah, that whole
One
mall
O'Reilly's
strip.
is. So they've announced some new tenants that will be coming in after the remodeling.
Did you say Habit?
Habit.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. The second thing is that Rancho Palos Verdes has done a traffic flow study on Western and has some recommendations. They're going to be presenting at their city council meeting on May 21st at 7 p.m. at Hess Park. It's also going to be available on Zoom. All of their meetings are available on Zoom, and if you go to their website and you want to see that meeting, you can get the information. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about just briefly was the housing element. Lori mentioned that Los Angeles has submitted a plan but that plan was actually just the preliminary plan. A more specific plan with specific upzoning is due at the end of the year. And I've talked about this several times. The city has released a draft of the proposed changes. It's very complicated, and it will have significant impacts on our community. The city staff were scheduled to discuss this at our joint planning committee last week, but because of the technical glitch with Zoom, we weren't able to do so, so we're hoping to reschedule them for May 22nd, but that's not yet confirmed. But that will be a very important meeting if you want to understand the land use that's being proposed for San Pedro.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
I missed. I guess we could just do it all as a motion in a second.
Okay, we're going to move back up to item number A. Then we have 5 items. We're going to go over them real quick. We're going to do something a little bit different here.
Okay, so we're going to do this a little different because we're short on time. Huh?
One question is item 9A1 at the committee.
No, we're gonna
do them all together of a vote. So, yeah. Because we're so short on time, so you guys can see before you the MER. This is how we're going to do this. You see the MER, take a good look at it, take a good look at the budget, take a good look at the approval for the food cart. The reason for the food cart approval is the way we've always done it is it comes out of office supplies. Always. My cart, the whole bottom came out of it that I haul stuff in and out for, and I use office supply budget to go get it. Well, now she's saying that we need board approval for it.
Okay.
So different funding rep, whatever. And then the CIS for the budget, to weigh in on the budget. And that's in there too, that's all there. So what we're going to do is do a motion and a second and vote on all of them. So what I need is a motion to accept all of these.
And seconded here.
And Thomas, and second Gwen. And then discussion. Any discussion on any of these items?
No.
Any discussion? Okay. So just going to call for the vote for all of them, and it's going to be Thomas.
Aye.
John Barbera.
Aye.
Vic Christensen.
Aye.
Ray.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Adam.
Yes.
Gwen.
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly. Angela.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
And Michael.
Yes.
Sorry we're doing it that way, but we're like out of time here. The other thing, the next item is public safety. And that is not out of committee. And that is on page, where is that in here? Do you guys see it?
No.
I don't see it in the packet, so that's why I'm asking. Here's public safety minutes. Hello. Anybody see the CIS for public safety? Is it before budget and finance here? For the love of God, where is it? Do y'all see it at all?
It goes straight from budget and finance stuff to planning and land use.
I see budget and finance stuff. It should have been right after, and there's the budget stuff. There is the budget, the MER, and then there's all of this stuff. Did she forget to put it in? I know I sent it to her.
If we don't have it, we'll just.
I thought I saw it there.
Can we vote on it next month? Can we vote on it?
Can anybody see it in there? The CIS, do you see it?
I don't see it in here.
Did she not?
Maybe it's out of order. Wait.
And you don't see it.
What's the name of the document? Because I can look it up on the online.
It is the public safety. It's the council file 11.
Council File 11-1813
S11.
-S11.
No, I don't think it's there.
It's weird because she's got my minutes, but not that. Oh wait, no, that's the biodiversity thing for Gwen.
Do we have time to submit it?
No, this is a big deal for Tim to support the survey for the Rancho tank.
Where's Rancho San Pedro? Do you know?
The study.
Rancho LPG.
Should we jump to the board vote while we look for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a Rancho San Pedro.
All right, this is out of committee.
I think 27.
So we're.
Hang on.
Do we find it or? Okay. So we're jumping down to D, Port Environmental Sustainability Committee report. We had a meeting. Coming out of committee is a request to approve a CIS and letter of support for Council File 22-1469 regarding LA City Biodiversity Index, the California Native Landscaping Pollinator-Friendly Monarch Butterfly Plant Tree Recovery with amendment. It's in the packet. You'll see the CIS there, and you'll note that there is one amendment. We really like this council file with one caveat. They wanted to basically ban sale of all non-native plants at any location. So we provided some suggested language to make it less definitive because we didn't think that was in the public's interest. And to keep it brief, if people have questions, I'll just take questions if we're not until we're ready to vote. Thank you.
Out of committee?
Out of committee. Yes, out of committee.
Even with the amendment and the editing that we did, it's out of committee?
The discussion of the amendment. No, thanks. Okay. So there were some helpful amendments from exec. So yeah, would somebody please consider moving it?
So moved.
Second? Who's second?
Thank you.
No, I'm asking who's second. Gwen, are you seconding?
Gwen is seconding that.
Okay. Discussion? No hands? Call for the vote?
This is for the amendment.
Jump.
Oh, yes.
No, I mean,
Was this for the amendment?
Gwen, if you followed the emails, which I'm sorry I copied Christina on so many times, it was just some kind of grammatical clarifying things Vic did. That's why we had to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is the amended?
Yep.
As amended, okay. John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eden.
Yeah, aye.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Faye.
Yes.
That's 13 ayes, no nays.
Okay, so it is online. It's right here. It was in the packet, but she didn't print it. So how do we do? Can I pass this around and have everybody look at it or just read it? Huh?
What's the number?
It's in there under the packet.
Each attachment, each document.
Can I just
has a
read it?
number?
Just please read it.
Okay, I'll read it to everybody. It's summary. In a regular monthly meeting, the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council, Northwest NC, on the 13th of May, 2024, the board voted to support CF 111813S11, Rancho LPG. Rancho LPG located 210 Gaffey Street, San Pedro, California, Northwest San Pedro. Our board constituents are on the record for voicing long-term concerns about the proximity to our community and crucial city, state, and nationally significant infrastructure. Our board requests the city passes a motion for a study. These storage tanks are in close proximity to schools, homes, businesses, athletic fields, and places of worship, the main LA Department of Sanitation, etc., and located just a few feet away from an oil refinery and a port of Los Angeles. The storage tanks and rail line for butane loading and transport are mere yards from Gaffey, separated by a chain link fence barrier. Further, 4 critical vehicle transportation arteries, Gaffey, Harry Bridges Boulevard, and the 110 freeway. The on-ramp to Vincent Thomas Bridge, as well as car and cargo truck routes, coverage in close proximity to Rancho LPG. This is to support the study for the Rancho LPG for removal of the tanks. So this is not out of committee because we did not have quorum, so I will need it to be moved.
So moved.
Okay.
Seconded. Yep. I guess Vic seconded. Vic did.
Move and second from
He seconded it?
Gwen.
Okay.
Okay. So call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
Aye. John? Vic?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Adam? Is Adam gone?
Stepped away.
Do you know if he left or just?
No,
Yeah.
Adam, he just left, so.
Okay, Gwen?
8:30.
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Yes? Michael?
Yes.
And that's it.
Yay. Thank you.
I want to jump to the animal liaison. If we, I beg your pardon?
Because every time you move, you need to put it in an agenda that way.
I don't get it. What?
Yeah.
It didn't make the packet, but it is online, and I have some copies here. I'm just going to go over the highlights since I know we're late. There's some upcoming adoption events coming up. They're all listed here, several in May and one at the beginning of June, with reduced fees for adoption, Go Adopt a Pet. I have some updates, particularly regarding the Board of Animal Services Commissioners that met at the Harbor Ranch, and I want to thank Gwen and Melanie for attending. Fortunately, they have them recorded, so I was able to listen online, and I made note of a couple items I thought that should be turned over to the committees to consider for action. They're listed here. And then there's another lovely volunteer story, and I have an update on this month's volunteer story because she got adopted over the weekend. The cat who'd been in the shelter since Halloween.
Oh, she did get adopted?
She got adopted.
Oh, good.
Nice.
So that's all good news. So anyway, it's all here in the report. Come see me if you want a copy. And like I said, it's online. And again, Gwen and Melanie, thank you so much. And I loved your motion. And that's one of the things I recommended be presented to the Community Issues Committee to see if we can take action on that.
Thank you for the work and thank you for the update. That's heartwarming.
Thank you.
So, look, we're out of time. Technically, if someone feels very compelled to say something about their report that they have, I'd be willing to say, let's hang out for a bit, but I don't see any hands, I don't see any volunteers. So without objection, I'd like to call this meeting adjourned.
Done. Second.
Don't have third.
Agreed.
Thank you all for hanging out.
Angela, is your report in here in the